Hello, this is Richard Gerlach. Welcome to Circuit to the Abyss, where I am currently decoding some code in this strange computer program. And with me, as always, is Vitlame Mist.
I'm glitching.
And Matt Brandenburg has been replaced by a Matthew Wildasin.
Hey, everybody. Beep, boop, boop, bop. I'm a robot. That's what that was.
001111001010.
You're just reading that backwards.
I have to look that up, but
no, it's supposed to be 00100111.
oh, okay, I get what you're referencing now.
Yes.
I understood that reference.
I got that reference too.
See trouble rules.
Today's episode is going to be us discussing Matt Wildasin's new novella, The Backrooms, which is I honestly was expecting it to go to sci-fi as it got, but it's a really great sci-fi thriller horror novella, like really, really good stuff.
Yeah, it's a mixture of genres, and I liked it.
It's a cosmic gumbo, if you will.
Yes.
Well, at least we know there'll still be some kind of like squid in that gumbo if it's cosmic.
That's very true.
Yep.
Oh man, but no, seriously, like it's a really great novella. I highly recommend you check it out. Vitlin recommends you check it out. I'm sure Matt Wilson recommends you check it out.
I mean, yeah.
But no, well, I think by now you're probably the person we've had on most as a guest of this podcast. So the record.
I say yes every time, isn't it?
No, I mean I'd say it's between Matt Wildasin and Haley Piper as like.
I agree.
We've had most.
Oh wow. Wow.
So it's between Matt Wildasin and Haley Piper.
Now duke it out.
I feel like that's an honor. Yeah, you can have her on and we'll fight.
Yeah. One versus one, only one person leaves.
Mm-hmm.
Let them fight.
Thunderdome.
Let them fight.
Yeah.
Well, before we dive into the Backrooms and no clip out of our reality, we'd like to give some media recommendations for those of us who are left behind. So, I kind of did a lot these last few weeks, but
honestly, Rich, that comes as a no surprise.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick out the stuff that stands out the most, though. So last night, I watched an animated movie called Unicorn Wars.
Oh fuck! Did you watch that?
I watched it.
Holy shit! Okay, I haven't seen it. I've seen the clip, and it's messed up.
I have no idea what this is.
I just saw the fucking clip on TikTok of all places.
Vilma, you can ask
what
Rich.
Happened in the clip.
He messages me a lot with links to things that I'm supposed to watch.
Yeah.
Yes.
And every time he links me something, I'm like, I have no idea what this is. And it's not it's not even because I'm just trying to avoid everything. It's just like I never seem to catch any of this stuff.
I think the reason I managed to catch most of it is because it's on TikTok.
Yeah, literally. Well, May, what happened in the clip before I move on?
In the clip, it was just this guy who was reacting, just basically telling his reaction after watching the movie.
Oh, was it the animation review guy?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I saw his YouTube video yesterday morning, and I was like, "This sounds fucking wild."
Yeah, I think it was that, and it was just the clip. I was like, wait, and he was basically the first thing he said, like, this. Don't show this to your kids. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be good then. And then I saw the clips like, oh, shit, this is more than I can handle.
So the movie is about a world where all these animals come from an area called the Magic Forest. And many years ago, the teddy bears who live in the Magic Forest discovered the sacred book. And the sacred book started them on a war against the unicorns because it civilized them. This book gave them rules and foundations to build a civilization out of. And they have since been removed from the Magic Forest, and the unicorns now control it. And they have a holy war against the unicorns with the prophecy that the chosen one will drink the blood from the last living unicorn and transcend into a godly being.
Ew.
And
it's violent.
It's fucked up. It's really fucking violent, and it's really
so
fucked up.
Violent. It's just if I don't know if Walt Disney just was on acid.
Like
because it's drawn in such a cutesy way. It's almost like Happy Tree Friends, but like put in a motion picture.
Literally, it's Bambi meets Apocalypse Now with a heavy dose of the Bible.
Yeah.
And that's this movie. It follows two characters, Bluey and Tubby, who are brothers. Bluey and Tubby. And Tubby's Tubby because he's fat. Just
I would have never guessed.
Right? So surprising. And Bluey's blue. And they join the army together. They're brothers. And it follows them as they're training. And Bluey has a lot of self-image issues. So he takes it all his insecurities on his brother. And Bluey goes on a very dark path because he believes he is the chosen one. And he can bring this war to an end. And this movie is really fucking gory. Like, really violent. It's really gory. It's really dark. Like, by the time the movie ended, I needed a cold shower just to like process what I just watched.
Yep.
Highly recommended though. Like I give it like a 4 out of 5.
This is so typical of us horror people. We're like, oh, this book was the movie. This book fucking messed me up. Highly recommend it. Go check it out. It's like share the trauma with me.
Like there's one part in the movie. This is a slight spoiler. There's one part in the movie early on when they're lost in the magic forest and they find these rainbow maggot caterpillar type bugs and they eat them and start hallucinating like it's a magic mushroom trip. And one of the brothers gets lost in the woods and the other brother follows him and the other brother sees him as this giant monster and stabs the monster to death. And then he realizes he killed his brother and hangs himself from the tree. And everybody finds their dead bodies the next morning.
As one experiences, yeah.
And that's like within 15, 20 minutes of the movie.
This movie, man. I want to like no, this movie probably wasn't put in cinemas.
It was released here during Fantastic Fest.
Okay.
And Fantastic Fest is a big movie festival where a lot of movies try to find a production or distribution studio.
Yeah, exactly. So it's more is it like it was like an experiment. Like how many would distribute this? I
mean, this director has made a movie before this. I forget the name of the movie right now though. But it's also a very dark animated, beautifully animated movie. And it was interesting too because this is a co-production between the Spanish animation studio and a French animation studio.
Oh.
And they had the thickest accented Spanish voice actors voice these characters.
Of course.
But it was definitely a surreal experience. And the ending is really more of a metaphor than it is like a solid ending, but it's kind of really fucking just like, damn, this is how it ends. All right.
Like soul destroying.
Well, it's kind of like the best I can describe it is I'll just put it this way. A new species is born out of the destruction of war, and that species looks like a human.
That doesn't make anything, but that doesn't make me feel better. We're the
worst. That's how it ends, with this thing that looks like a human that came out of the dead bodies from the war, walking down, and all these kind of ape-like simian beings follow it down the path. And then it kind of rolls the credits.
Wow, you're gonna need the correct headspace to watch this, and then to process it.
It's really dark. Like, it was good, but it's definitely not a happy not a happy movie.
No, you're gonna need to put on a few episodes of Bob's Burger after this.
I actually watched Bob's Burgers after that.
Oh yes, see, it's the best feel good episodes.
But I also ended up seeing Ant-Man and Wasp and Quantumania, despite the fact I said I have a Marvel ban or Marvel boycott, I should say.
You big phony, you liar.
Okay, no. I have a reason. I was taking a girl on a date to see a movie.
Oh.
And the only movie she was interested in was Ant-Man and Wasp. And I figure it's okay to break my boycott for a date.
All right, that's fine.
You get a pass this time.
Yeah, this one time. You can't keep using this date stuff as your reason to watch Marvel movies.
I was just gonna wait till it hit Disney Plus anyway, originally. But my review of Ant-Man and Wasp is it is a Fantastic Four story, and they subbed out Fantastic Four for Ant-Man and Wasp, and it suffers for it. And they also fucked up MODOK.
Really?
Yeah, like all the Quantum Realm stuff is Fantastic Four stuff.
Oh yeah.
Like going deep with the Quantum Realm is Fantastic Four, and Kang was originally a Fantastic Four villain before he was introduced as a villain anywhere else.
Speaking of Kang, what are they gonna do now?
Apparently, the charges have been dropped. I mean, I honestly don't know what's going to happen now. I'm just kind of in the wait and see mode.
Yeah.
And even for the results, I'm also in the wait and see mode of like kind of like what actually went down. But everyone's coming out in the New York acting scene saying he's an asshole. So,
I mean, it might hold some truth.
I mean, it might true if I believe the victim before anything else. But I'm just waiting for more things to come up before I have like a solid opinion on anything.
Yeah.
That's kind of
because like isn't Phase 5, isn't he supposed to be like the main villain?
Yeah, he is the villain of the new Marvel phase.
Yeah.
Well, it's not like they can't just pull like they did with the Iron Man series and just put Don Cheadle in the role of, I can't remember the actor. There was
Terrence Howard.
But yeah.
It was Terrence Howard was originally Rhodey.
Terrence Howard, thank you. I mean, also, you could pull a DC and just still make the movie like they did with Ezra Miller. You know? Because that's not going to hurt sales at all.
I still feel dirty that he actually was in my store. And I had a selfie with him, and I'm like, why?
I mean, by all like what sucks about stuff like the Flash movie, which I'm not going to see the Flash movie in theaters. If anything, I'm going to wait till it hits streaming if I'm going to watch it at all.
Yeah.
But like the thing about that is like, what sucks about that is what Ezra Miller did affected everybody else in that movie.
Exactly.
And like, I was so excited to see Michael Keaton as Batman again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, it just kind of killed all the excitement of that movie for me.
I mean, I'm still excited to see him as Batman, but I'm probably going to wait till I don't have to go to a theater.
Yeah, I'm going to wait for streaming before I see it. Just because it's kind of yucky what Ezra Miller did.
Yeah. I hope, though, out of this, they give Keaton a standalone movie then.
I wish we got the...
You mean like they would go like Batman Beyond?
No, I wouldn't mind them doing Batman Beyond because it's an area they haven't touched. But at the same time,
Returns with Michael Keaton, baby.
Yeah, I want them to do another Batman movie as him being Batman, and then that could be the transition into possibly doing him retiring, and then we move into the Beyond section of things because it is the future, and they do this Flashpoint thing. It could fuck everything up, and it's literally like when they did the Star Trek movies. And they had that time warp thing in the first Star Trek film. They basically opened it up where they could write anything after that.
Yeah.
So this one, they could just be like, oh, well, because of Flashpoint, now he's displaced in a different time period, and it's now like the future. And he just, this is his last romp as Batman. And now he finds a guy he's teaching to be Batman. They could do anything at this point.
Yeah.
They just got to do it well. That's the problem. Like,
Yeah.
I think now that James Gunn's taken over the DC movies after these X couple come out, I think like the James Gunn ones have a chance of actually being good.
I want to give him the benefit of a doubt, but he did get rid of my man Henry. And,
he did get rid of Henry, but
that hurt me, you know.
Henry's got his Warhammer 40K project now.
Yeah, well, yeah, there's that.
And he was a good Superman. I will say that about Henry Cavill.
Yeah, I was so salty with all that because it was like I lost The Witcher and him as Superman like literally the same month, and it was like, what the?
Yes. I mean, I'm not gonna continue with Witcher after he's gone. It's like
it won't be the same.
No, it won't.
Speaking of not continuing with shows, Yellowjackets season 2, worst opening I've ever seen in the TV series in a while, and I'm done with the show.
I never watched it. That should be a surprise.
I'm shocked, Matt. It should be like Yellowjackets is pretty much this girls' soccer team crashes in the woods in the 90s. Some weird shit goes down that possibly involves a cannibalistic cult. And now it's present day, and it's kind of exploring the survivors and their kind of fucked up lives in modern day. And it's a cool premise, and the opening of the first season was cool. But at the end of the second season, I was kind of falling out of the show just due to bad writing, writing plot choices.
That seems to be
the season 2 pilot, the opening of season 2, had a character who's the husband who his wife cheated on him with. And he's going to destroy the painting studio of the man his wife cheated on him with. And he has a breakdown while listening to that Papa Roach song, the Cut My Life Into Pieces song. And I just stopped watching. I'm like, I am done. This is not happening anymore.
You see, and you'd think, because you'd say to yourself, you know, Matt, you're an 80s, late 80s, early 90s guy, and that's everything that's coming out right now is tailored to that time period.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we're like the people with money now, so they want to get it out of our pockets. But the thing for me is I'd probably be more into it if you didn't get the time periods so wrong. Because
I mean, it's modern day. He's listening to that Papa Roach song.
Oh, okay. I was sitting here thinking like you were talking about back then.
No. So it goes between back then and modern day. But so now it's 2022 in the show, and he's having a breakdown to the Cut My Life Into Pieces Papa Roach song.
I mean, haven't we all? I know. I cried at Alien Ant Farm's
Smooth Criminal cover
of Smooth Criminal.
I mean, that's a good fucking cover.
Honestly, that is a good cover. I will give him that.
It is a good cover, yeah. I don't know if I could ever see. I never thought I would hear that there was anything written of a person having a breakdown, crying fit to Papa Roach.
Yeah, no, he's kind of like punching his steering wheel and getting all like emotional to Papa Roach. And just me as a watcher, I'm like, this is the dumbest shit I have ever seen in a very long time.
Oh, he has a watcher?
No, me as the watcher. As
I thought you were like, he has a watcher, like the core canon. I was like, I pity that fucking Celestial.
No, like me watching the show, I'm just like, this is the dumbest shit I've ever seen. Like, why would someone like write this?
Yeah, I mean, I've been saying that a lot about some current Marvel stuff lately. More the shows than the movies, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I feel that.
Or just some of the things that Netflix is still putting out.
Yeah, Netflix needs to stop. They just need to go back to, I think honestly, and this is I guess maybe my age showing again, but I think they need to go back to having a decent package to mail movies to you, because what they put available on streaming is horrible.
Yeah.
And like the package to get at least one movie sent to you plus streaming is way too much, in my opinion.
Yes.
So like they need to double back and just kind of go to what they were doing in the beginning. Or here's a novel idea: put shit people want to watch on your platform.
Yes.
That's also true.
I really hope someone will pick up Inside Job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be good.
Mm-hmm.
At least we are getting the second season of Sweet Tooth next month. I really like the first season of that, so hopefully it still stays good.
It's a roll of the dice.
It's
honestly.
Also, just some real quick, I also read The Bounce House by Edward Lee.
Okay.
Which is one of his new kind of 50-cent novellas that people are putting up on godless.com.
Cool.
And if you like Ed Lee, you'd like this, but it's definitely Ed Lee trying to be gross and fucked up for the sake of being gross and fucked up and make you laugh a lot. If you're into that kind of gross out humor, you won't get anything else out of this than gross out humor. It's a very shallow novella, but it's about a couple who buy a bouncing house for their kid's birthday. They show off to the neighbors, and they try out the bouncing house before, and their genitals switch, where the wife gets the husband's genitals and the husband gets the wife's genitals, and it kind of gets more bizarre from there.
Huh.
And it's pretty fucked up at many points. It's Ed Lee. It's what you'd expect.
Right. I mean, that's. I think you just see that name on the title, and you're like, okay, there's some things I should expect here.
I will say, I laughed a lot. One part made me gag. Ed Lee. That's all you need to know.
Yeah. That should be a blurb on the cover. It's just Ed Lee. That's all you need to know.
And then I also read Festival by Chris Golden and Tim Lebbon.
You finished that already?
It's like a 70-page novella with pictures.
I feel like you time is a mystery to me.
I read it the day I started it, which was Tuesday. I finished it by Tuesday night.
Okay. Since having a child, time and space is a mystery to me. I wake up and it's Monday, and before I know it, it's Sunday, and I'm like, what happened?
Festival.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I cut you off, Matt.
No, I literally thought you texted me this morning that you started reading that book.
No, it was Tuesday.
Okay. Jesus Christ.
So Festival's about this music festival that takes place near a massacre where a bunch of Norsemen were murdered thousands of years ago in England, and they hold a festival there with all these rock and indie musicians to commemorate the event. And the spirits of the dead come back to attack those in the present.
That damn rock and roll music, I tell you.
It's okay. I'd give it like a 3.5 out of 5. It was entertaining enough. The images were good, but there's not enough meat on its bones to kind of get a lot out of. It's just more of a entertaining read than anything else. But it's a decent read. Gotcha.
I love when people write stories about rock and roll literally bringing the dead to life.
Oh, me too. That's what drew me to it.
Yeah, I'm like it's like reading a Death Clock episode, you know, like a Metalocalypse. That's what it was.
Oh yeah,
Apocalypse. And I have also started this morning Lullaby, Nightmare Land Volume 2 by Daniel Bartnett. And my goal is to get caught up with his series before the next volume comes out. So, but that's kind of it for me. Vitlame, I know you're on vacation, but if you have anything, feel free to share.
Well, as for games, I actually started playing Life is Strange True Colors.
Ooh, how's that?
Nice.
I really like it. I love decision-based games because they both give me anxiety, but they also have really intriguing storylines. But then afterwards, you start questioning everything, like, did I make the right choice or not? And it's like, it's a little bit different from the original games, in which instead of time traveling or you can turn back time, this character, she's an empath.
Okay.
And she can read everyone's emotions, she's kind of trying to understand in this little town that she's in. This is somewhere in Colorado. It's like a mining town, and there's like some kind of mining happening in the mountains. And her brother dies as just shortly after they had met. I was like, well, that sucks. It was like, good day, and I was like, but I have an emotionally connected with you that much. What the fuck? So she's trying to find out if it was if the mining company caused it or not, and she's doing it like with the help of the people in town and just reading their emotions and stuff.
Okay,
that's cool.
Yeah,
it's cool. Yeah, and the next episode, like the next chapter that I'm starting, I'm on chapter 3 now, I think. She's actually going to participate in a LARPing.
Nice.
Yeah, so I think that chapter is just going to be just her LARP.
Oh,
that's perfect.
I know. I noticed that they put a little bit of D&D elements in Life is Strange 2. When he was, I think her name was Zoe, wasn't it Zoe? I think so. The other girl was Max, and I think her name was Zoe.
Okay.
And yeah, they introduced a little bit like D&D in that game, so I'm glad that they managed to go like, you know what? Let's just throw like just a whole LARPing situation there. I'm like, okay, never done that before. But I played D&D, but okay.
It's always a delight to see that LARPing does show up, from time to time in popular media. That it hasn't like died off.
I know. I appreciate it. So this is gonna be fun. I hope I won't suck as a bard.
LARPing will live forever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as long as we're alive, I would assume.
That's true.
Yeah. And I also finished the audiobook version of Just Like Home by Sarah Gailey.
How was that?
I expected a lot more. I saw the reviews. They like everyone had glowing reviews. I think Mother Horror also just said like it was the best book she has ever read like this year.
Who said that?
Sadie Hartman.
I've even heard of this book.
Yeah, I mean, I have heard like I saw a lot of people on TikTok recommending it, and I was like, oh, I mean, I have extra credits, so I could just listen to it. And it's a haunted house situation, and I do enjoy these kind of haunted house stories. Like Grady Hendrix's How to Sell a Haunted House is my favorite so far.
Mm-hmm.
But I also kind of like the premise of the fact that she's going, like the main character is going back to the house where her father, who was a serial killer, killed most of his victims in.
Okay, that's a good premise.
Yeah, it's a really good premise, right? You're like, oh, nice.
Yeah.
So she's definitely gonna meet some of the ghosts there, I guess. They want revenge. I was so fucking wrong there, and I'm kind of pissed that they didn't go in that direction.
Aww.
Because can you imagine? I want that. It's like watching Medium, or The Ghost Whisperer. You kind of when she meets all the victims that they want justice, and I'm like, yeah, give the ghost justice, man.
You know what, Villamay? You have a story you can write now.
I know, I do.
You call it Ghost Justice.
Yes.
Dawn of Justice.
It'll be like Ghostbusters, but instead of that, they'll just, oh no, we're just gonna give them the justice they need. We don't care about you who live in the house.
Ghost Justice, Dawn of the Ghosts.
Yeah.
but it also kind of like I'm gonna say just what I liked about it. I'm not gonna spoil it.
Yeah.
I did like the strained relationship between the main character V, or Vera. I hate saying that name in English because in Icelandic we just say Vera.
Say it in Icelandic, then it sounds better.
Right?
It does sound better.
So yeah, and especially it's interesting because Vera in Icelandic means being.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's even more intriguing. But anyways, I'm just gonna call it V. It's like there's a strained relationship between V and her mother, because you kind of get through, like, as you listen to the story, you go through like back and forth between when she was a little girl and when she's an adult trying to take care of the house because her mother's dying and she is supposed to get the house, I guess, after she's dead. And you kind of get the feeling like, okay, both of them seem to have known something about the dad, but neither of them did anything about it.
Mm.
And it's also interesting because what would you feel like? How would you feel if you found out that your parent was a serial killer? Like, would you still love him?
Yeah, it's a tough one.
So
yeah, that is quite the conundrum.
Yeah, so I mean, I both liked that idea, but I also hated it because, like, me immediately, I would never have forgiven him, even though he treated me nice. Because it's kind of like the same situation when you go out to dinner and then, like, the guy treats you nice, but he treats the servers like crap.
Oh yeah, he's crap to me then. He's trash.
Yeah.
He's crap to me too.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I felt. But this character, no, she misses him, and she just is trying to find all kind of memorabilia about him. The guy died in prison and stuff. But I was like, why? Why aren't you sickened by this?
Yeah, you should be sickened.
Yeah, I'd be sickened by it.
Yes.
Unless it's. I mean, you could also argue that there might be a side of morbid curiosity there.
Could be, but as you go along in the story, you kind of get a reason for why she misses him.
Okay.
So yeah, I thought that, like, that angle was interesting as well, but it still made her really not relatable at all, which is fine because you don't have to relate to to all the characters.
Yeah, but it seemed like it kind of hurt your engagement with the story.
Yeah, it did.
Which is valid. It's valid.
Yeah, exactly. And then the climax was just so ridiculous. I think I was I was at the gym, like, listening to the last 30 minutes, and I almost dropped the weights because I was so pissed. I was like, why?
There's your review. This book almost killed me.
This book almost broke my foot.
Again. Yeah, it was like, why this? It's like, I connected with the emotional part of the, like, with the relationship between the woman, like the V and her mother. I loved that. That was amazing. But the rest, I don't think Sarah Gailey is, like, the best at describing or, like, writing, like, haunted things, like actual, like, if there's a ghost or something in there. Like, I didn't feel that really clicked. But that's basically my perspective of it. I mean, judging from the other reviews, people didn't think that way at all. But that was just my perspective and how I felt when I was listening to it. Of course, this is what I love about fiction. It's totally subjectable.
Is this the same who wrote River of Teeth? Sarah Gailey?
Probably, yeah.
Oh man, that was such a good novella. That disappoints me. Huh.
I didn't even know she had written a novella. I thought this was her, like, debut thing.
This is her fourth book.
Oh, okay.
And
it's like the first time I've ever heard of her.
And she has 2 novellas, which are about an alternate history when hippos were imported to the American South, and it's pretty interesting stuff. But this one sounds like it's a miss, though, which is at least a miss for you, which is
it was a miss for me, at least.
Because I don't know, I feel like everyone has different tastes, and I don't like to, like, put anyone's work down, but at the same time, sometimes we just don't. It doesn't work with us. Doesn't mean it's bad. It just means.
Yeah, that's why I feel like it's important to, if you didn't like a book, you should definitely say it, but you should also just say, like, this didn't work for me, but it might work for someone else.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So yeah, I think that's basically the only thing that I've been doing, or reading, or consuming.
Cool. Anything from you, Matt? I know you've been a busy guy, but.
Yeah, my section's probably not going to be that great. I think I need to jump on the getting, like, Audible or something like that in order to get some of these books that I've purchased recently finished, because I can get, like, anywhere between 5 to 20 pages in, like during a nap, and then he wakes up, and then that's basically it for reading for the day.
Yeah.
And then when they're ready to go to bed, you're just like, I'm fucking sleeping too. Like I'm done. I got nothing left to say. Yeah, and that's this like movies and stuff. I really haven't watched a whole lot. I've been reliving my favorites with him. Like going through the Godzilla stuff, watching MST3K episodes. Just trying to give him a feel for how weird his dad is. Just so he knows,
Did you hear what's coming out in September or October?
What?
I'll send you the link. You should bookmark it. The original writer of the original Godzilla movie.
Oh.
He wrote a Godzilla novella and a sequel to that novella back when the first movie came out in Japan.
Okay.
And they're releasing it in English for the first time ever this year as like a combined volume.
I think I saw that on Amazon, actually. The cover art's pretty badass.
Yeah, the cover art's awesome.
It's like a woodblock close-up of Godzilla's face.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep, I seen that. I already put it in my cart.
it sounds awesome. Like I want to read it.
Yeah, because I mean, I want to know what Raids Again could have been like instead of what we got. So
that's true.
Yeah, but other than that, other than the bad movies that I have to watch for Ghost Riders, I haven't watched anything new. Honestly, I know I've been a stick in the mud. I've gotten most of the way through Stephen King's Fairy Tale, and I'm really enjoying that. I agree with a lot of people that I talk to about it that as you go on with it, you just want to go back and read Eyes of the Dragon again, and I might do that because Eyes of the Dragon's a really great novel by him, and I've been looking for a reason to go back and read it because I've been trying to absorb as much fantasy as I can because I have a fantasy novel that I had started a while back that I want to get to after I get 2 of these books I'm currently working on out of the way. Because I always wanted to dabble in doing like a fantasy, like a dark fantasy. I guess they call that grim dark.
I mean, there's a difference between dark fantasy and grimdark, but like they're kind of similar to each other.
Okay.
Like I'd say grimdark is kind of more pessimistic or nihilistic and more character driven, and dark fantasy tends to have like a bigger scope and be kind of a bit more kind of like high fantasy with darker things happening. And they have Game of Thrones, which is kind of like a bridge between the two.
Okay. I guess this would be a little bit more grimdark then, because it's going to follow a solo protagonist.
Sweet.
And it's going to be more like a Dark Souls-ish type of thing going on.
So, oh man, hell yeah. I want to read a book. Like I want to find a book that like feels like Bloodborne.
I mean, they wrote Bloodborne novels.
Yeah, I don't really want to I don't really want to read a Bloodborne novel though. I like the whole lore from the game. I kind of want to keep it in the game. But I want like, I don't know, something that scratches that Bloodborne itch that isn't Bloodborne. You know what I mean?
No, I get you. And it's Bloodborne is one of those things where it's a game that borrows from a lot of different things, but it borrows it in the sense that it makes it makes its own encapsulation of itself within those things. And then there's nothing else out there that's like that.
Yes.
And that's the thing. Like, once you get through Bloodborne, you're like, well, I can keep playing it again and again and again, but I would also like something new that has to deal with this.
Yeah.
There isn't a lot out there. Like, you can find fan stuff on YouTube. You can read like fan novelizations or whatever if you like, but with that comes the caveat of it possibly not being that great, or some people actually miss the mark completely as to what Bloodborne was going for as well. So it's a catch-22 sometimes with that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I think Bloodborne has some of the best lore and world building in any video game I've ever played. Oh yeah, and I wish, and now don't get me wrong, because I could be completely wrong with this. I wish From Software would put out a compendium for these things that basically is a collection of all of the lore within, because you do get bits and pieces through character dialogue and when you pick up weapons and items and stuff. Yeah.
But it's not cohesively put together in a narrative. You know what I mean? So it'd be cool to have something where it strings all of that along for you. And then maybe like they break it down into a weapons section or a bestiary section, and then it kind of just gives you all the stuff in cohesion with like, oh, well, this guy's like this because of this thing that happened with the healing church and blah, 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 blah. That would be cool. I know I miss a lot. The first playthrough with those games, I miss a lot of lore, and then I have to go look up like YouTube videos where people are like explaining it to me like I'm an idiot. And I'm like, oh, that makes sense now.
I do the same thing.
Okay.
So it's not just you.
I have to do that with a lot of A24 movies. I have to go find somebody online and be like, what did they mean? But yeah, that's other than the little bit of reading I get to do and rewatching movies that I've watched a million times over, because I'm old now, so I guess that's what you're supposed to do. That's basically been it for me. You know, other than that, I've just been plucking away any free moment I get to writing and cover designs and stuff like that. So, yep.
Awesome. Well, I will say one more thing before we move on is I did also start, along with doing the Bartnett's book, Everything the Darkness Eats by Eric LaRocca, which is also really great so far too.
Sweet.
So hopefully these things keep me going, but I think it's time for us to clip through this wall and enter the Backrooms.
Okay. Yes.
So before we even get started, what was like the origin of this novella?
So I got really interested in the lore of the Backrooms, the creepypasta.
Yeah.
And I have a love-hate relationship with just even the word creepypasta, because I hate how it sounds. I wish they would just be called like, you know, internet lore or, you know, internet horror stories or something like that. Like every time I hear that, I just kind of want to go eat a really scary bowl of spaghetti. But there were like video games and yeah, spooky noodles. I think there was a YouTube, somewhat almost like a movie that's one guy made. I think he's only like 18 or 19.
He was in high school.
Yeah, he's in high school. That's right.
A24 hired him to make a full movie based off of those YouTube shorts he made.
Good, because I mean, the thing this kid made on
it's
YouTube,
terrifying.
It's terrifying. It's well done for just being a high school kid.
And it's all CG.
Yeah, and you couldn't tell.
I'm just kind of like,
yeah, I'm like, what engine is he using? Because no video game people that I play have this engine. Like, what did he do? Like, somebody, Capcom, you need to get on this shit and get in making RE games. Like, come on, man. But I saw that stuff. I read, you know, stories about it and everything, and it was interesting to me. I was always interested in the whole parallel universe, either by, you know, natural substance or man-made, you know, horrors that, you know, we created a fake reality, and this one place is a place that you can fall into because of, you know, it's made by man, so it's faulty. You know, you can just fall into this stuff. And I kind of was like sitting the one day, and this was for, I think it was Horrors Untold Volume 4 was where the short that this book originated from showed up. And I was like, I want to write a story about the Backrooms, but I want to do something different than it just being, oh, hey, yeah, I was playing ball with me mates and I fell through the floor and now I'm in the Backrooms, you know? So I kind of was thinking about it and like, I want to, like, I haven't heard anybody use like Y2K as a reasoning for like a horror story. And I kind of like giggled at myself for even like, you know, like you say Y2K now and you kind of cringe a little bit.
And this is, no, you're a 90s kid.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you're just kind of like, you're like, do we all really think it was all going to fall apart just because like the calendar in our computers would roll over to 00? Like, do we all really think this?
Can I tell you what I thought was going to happen when we hit the year 2000?
Sure.
I thought all the cars are going to instantly turn to hover cars. And I stayed up until midnight to watch them transform, and nothing happened. And I was super disappointed.
I shit you not. I know I fell asleep before the ball dropped that night. And when I woke up, I looked out the window and I was just like, oh, It's all the same. Like I expected. Yeah, like I expected to look out the window and like everything's now in chrome or something, and it's like there's cars flying around and people are on hoverboards and shit. And then like I had that moment where I thought to myself, like, well, what did you fucking expect? Like
Same. I had that moment too.
like I expected to fall asleep and like future Santa Claus came by and just like turned the whole world different overnight, you know? Like it was now a tech metropolis everywhere. But I had that thought though in my head. I was like, there's got to be a way to implement that somehow. So the idea of it just being like, no, it actually fucking happened. But much like we have like those bunkers up in the Antarctic that have like every seed for every plant known to man in case shit does go down and we can replant, you know, there would be a failsafe for this type of idea. And that failsafe was our consciences being uploaded into a fake reality that would just kick in. So it felt like nothing changed. But then certain people would start realizing things aren't right because, again, it was made by man and it's not going to be 100% soundproof. And then those people that start searching, they get called into an area called the Backrooms, which is like your classic literature labyrinth that you can't escape from. And that was basically the idea that popped into my head with it. And then from there, it was just kind of like, well, how do I want to write it in a normal thing, or do I want to write like in letter entries? And I thought the letter entries would be fun because when you watch like people play the video games of being in these types of situations, it's not the greatest. I don't think it's the greatest engine for a video game that you just find letters everywhere. And some guy's just like, yeah, I found this thing and it's over here. Just go there, you know?
Yeah.
But I felt like for a story like this, it would work out pretty good because you're seeing, you know, you yourself as the reader have no idea what the hell's going on, but you're hearing all these things through somebody who's been dealing with it for quite some time now. And they just happen to get lucky enough to fall onto something that helps them get a little bit further each time. And from there, that's kind of where the idea got motion and started getting under words.
Interesting. Have you ever like this is a side tangent from on top of the Backrooms. Have you ever played the game Soma?
No.
So
I've watched people play Soma though.
So you've seen the ending of Soma, right?
Yes.
Like what you describing made me think of the ending of Soma, and I was like, oh, that's fucking good.
Yeah.
Like it's oh, you go.
No, I was going to say the writing and storyline for Soma is very interesting as well.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It does have that twist where you're like, oh, shit, like this whole time it was this. And, you know, we thought it was like this. And yeah.
Yeah. But I like how in the Backrooms, it's right in the beginning, like, oh, Y2K really happened and the world went to shit. And now we're living inside a computer code to keep us alive. Like,
yeah,
we're kind of given everything right away to be like, okay, here's where we're going.
Yeah, and when I was rewriting it for a book, I was kind of like, should I move that to a different spot? Because obviously, I think it's the first couple chapters is the original short story, and when you do a short story, you got to get everything out of the way. You know,
yeah.
If you want to try and build a world within 6 or 7 pages, you have to cram everything in there. And I thought. I was always wondering if I should have spread it out, but I feel like keeping it there so that you know instantly what kind of shit you're in. Like, I thought that was good. Because sometimes it can ruin a book if you put a lot of epilogue and exposition in the very beginning. But I feel like for this, it worked out in its favor.
I have another question for you.
Okay.
Before we even get started into the book. Were you a Lucas fan, point and click adventure game as a kid?
Oh yeah.
Okay, I gathered that from a lot of the stuff in this book. I was like, oh, this is kind of like the Matrix meets like a Lucasfilm point and click adventure game.
Yep.
I have a follow-up question.
Sure.
Have you read or watched Gantz?
Oh, I'm trying to remember what that was now. That was like a CG anime movie.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, is that the one with like the people that have I don't want to say they're cops, but they they get into a bunch of crap in the middle of the city, and it's like every time they turn around, there's a stronger demon they have to kill.
You're almost close.
You're almost there.
Yeah, okay. You're almost there. It's basically about just a group of random people. They wake up in the middle of the room, and in the middle of the room is a giant black orb.
Well, first you miss the point where they die.
Yeah,
first.
they die. Yeah, they die first,
and
then
they wake up in this room.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And there's this giant orb that has a red light in the middle of it, and it tells them to go shoot some aliens.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like, here's your target, go.
Yeah, like if you don't do this, you will die.
And again, if you kill enough aliens, it revives you. It brings you back to life.
Well, like it gives you the option. Yeah, it gives you a wish.
Yeah. It gives you a wish.
Okay.
So these people every night they have to go and hunt down another alien, and it's always something stronger, always something stronger, always something stronger. And everybody dies in terribly horrible, brutal ways.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do somewhat remember this now. I might have not remembered that beginning part with the orb because, when I start watching movies, I turn into a feeble-minded imbecile because I'm just like monsters, And I think that's what it was. I was just like, I want to see more of these monsters. And
I want to see the spring onion alien again.
And as the movie went along, it just kind of started doing that DBZ thing where like everything turns around. And it's like, well, you thought I was this, but surprise, I'm extra stronger, But it was a good movie from what I remember. I think I watched that like probably a decade ago by now.
Yeah, I mean the series, like it's based on a manga and it's really good. Like it goes into like war territory, and then basically afterwards, like the consequences of war. It's really good.
Okay, cool.
I kind of wish they did more with the cosmic vampire storyline.
Oh yeah.
That was like the coolest part. And
Mm-hmm.
I love how you work in both of the characters to the letters in this book, Matt.
Oh, well, thank you.
But I also I find it very interesting just how you describe the environment and all the stuff going on. Like it was very kind of vivid and surreal at the same time. But what was like for like the monster, or not, I should say the monsters, but just like the situations in this book and kind of what the characters are going through. And this is before we kind of will get a bit more into it. Is what was some of the main influences behind a lot of this?
Well, I guess for how the characters acted or interacted with their environment, I full on put myself in that situation, and I thought, what would I be doing if I was stuck in something like this? Some of the programming lingo that's in the book is stuff I learned through like doing. I don't know if anybody else did this in high school, but we had like C++ programming and stuff like that. We had computer programming classes in my high school, and I took those because I was at first I'm like, I'm going to go work for id Software. that was my big dream. I'm like, I'm going to be the next Doom guy thing. And yeah, obviously that never worked out. But, I thought about it to myself and like, well, even with modern day operating softwares and stuff that we have, getting things running still requires a fairly basic knowledge of how MS-DOS worked. Like a lot of your command prompts to get things running are still essentially the same way. So in my head, I'm like, well, why would it be any different for something like this? Because it was written, obviously in the book's timeline in the late 90s to early 2000s would have been when this thing would have been created, right? So we still would have been using, what was that at the time? Probably like Windows Vista or X or something at that time. I can't remember which one it would have been, but
maybe it was Vista. I'm not sure.
Yeah, Vista came out like 2003, 2004. I want to say.
Okay.
Maybe, yeah.
It would have had to have been before Vista because this would have never worked with Vista.
Even XP. XP was like Windows 2001, 2002 was XP.
Okay,
and
I'm going to go with
came
XP.
out after XP.
The's no way something this intricate.
Yeah, that's XP.
Vista didn't want to do it.
Vista was shit.
Yeah. But yeah, I had those thoughts of like it would still, you'd still be able to manipulate it in some way using just basic code function if it was with that kind of technology back in that time period. So that's where like the idea of putting lines of code on paper or scraps and like putting it on the walls to try and get something to work to your advantage. So and then there was just the idea of being in that sort of a situation where it does seem hopeless no matter how much optimism you still have that you can make things work. There's going to be a point where that veneer cracks and you're going to just be like, I want to think I can get out of here, even though like I found this new thing out, but who knows? Because this could lead to something even worse. Because it's all foreign. You have no idea what any of this is. So it was just basically trying to get in that headspace. And it was, I know that like it's not a long book at all, but the process of getting into that headspace every time and trying to make myself feel like I was in a situation I could never escape was kind of shitty at times. I would come out of a writing session and just be like, Jesus Christ, like I got to not take this in any other kind of context other than I'm in a fictitious like program. Because if I start applying this thought to real life,
it's like reliving the Trump years.
Good.
It's like reliving the Trump years.
Yeah.
But also, let me ask a couple questions as well. But I have one more question.
Sure.
The eating the soggy carpet pieces, was that based on you eating the insulation in your house as a kid?
What?
I was starting to be silly, but no, I love how like you were doing the eat the soggy carpet, like they eat like the soggy carpet pieces to like get their nutrients and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was I was joking, like, oh, is that based on? But no.
Well, you Jeep paint chips as a kid or something.
Yeah. Hey man, don't knock it till you try it. That's all I'm gonna say.
I mean man, I was trying the damnedest for the longest time to figure out something that could be consumed in this world that you might get something out of to keep your body going. Because I'm like, you can't really eat wallpaper, because there's nothing in that. And, you would say carpet, there's probably nothing in, but I'm like, well, if the carpet molds, you're at least getting like antibodies and stuff from that.
Yeah. And
it might have some nutritional value at least to give you something. So I was like, I guess that's really all I'd have to go off of. Because that was a big problem. I'm like, well, if I'm going to keep writing this where it's like months or this person's been here for years, I'm like, I have to have some sort of viable reason that they're still alive. Because even though it's a program and it's brought up that it's a program, it's still written in a way that you have to do these things in order to keep yourself moving. So, that was like one of the first corners I got written into. I wrote myself into it. I'm like, well, I'm not giving up. I got to come up with a way. I'm not just going to do like the pseudoscience thing where, anything where it's like space or something where somebody writes themselves in a corner. They're always like, well, reverse the polarities and that'll solve it, So I wanted to come up with a viable reason. And I mean, there could be somebody out there that might come up with a better solution, but that was the best I came up with at the time. I thought it worked.
I mean, it definitely created an interesting atmosphere for the Backrooms. It has kind of like images to kind of put in your head as you're reading the novella.
Well, thank you.
But do you have any other questions, Vitlame, or should we kind of dive into the story?
I kind of want to ask, like, do you know a lot about coding, or did you really have to research it?
I mean, I wouldn't say I know a lot. I know what I could have remembered from my high school years. There was some research I did while doing this. Obviously, all of the binary, I had to look that up. There's no way I would have ever have guessed what any of this binary actually spelled out. Mm-hmm. So thank you, Google, if you're listening, which I'm sure you are. But yeah, it's a very basic amount of coding that I somewhat remember. Like, man, I think it was 7 years ago, and this is a small side tangent, but it was like 7 years ago. I worked for a little bit in a comic book shop, and they they refused to update their system to anything that wasn't DOS at the time. I don't know if they have not yet or at this current year, but sitting down in that chair and then seeing that in front of me, it took me back in time, man. And I was just like, oh man, I really wish we had like this stuff so I could do these run program prompts, and I could get this puppy doing all sorts of weird shit. But nowadays, I would probably just know how to make something run that crashed, and that's about it. Because it's all backdoor stuff, and in modern day technologies. But yeah.
I mean, I do appreciate that you actually took the time to explain some of the stuff, because I don't know shit about coding. We did not learn coding in high school, so yeah. It's like I had no flipping idea.
Well, and I had quarrels with myself about that, because I'm like, do I want to explain this as if I was talking to a fellow nerd and get like really into it, or do I just want to be like, this is the basic idea of how this one thing works that I'm now going to say is currently happening? Because
it's kind of like, how much is too much?
Yeah, and that's the fine line I was like trying to stay on with that, because I didn't want to. You can make that boring really quick, especially if somebody has no idea what the hell you're talking about. And I didn't want people to skim through anything, so I was just trying to be like, okay, so this is how hashtags work. This is the idea of how they work, and that's why it works in current social media. It draws you back to the original source where the hashtag was created. So that's how lines of coding work. And I would put that out there, and that was like the little paragraph, and I just feel like it was hanging there with not much else in it. And I would worry, like, is that not enough? Or is that just enough?
Yeah. I mean, I get that.
Yeah. But I feel, me personally, and I guess my wife felt the same because she helped me edit this, she thought it was enough, because she also said, like, you don't want to do too much because then you could lose people.
Yeah, so, that's true. Yeah.
You agreed.
Oh, no, totally. You could lose people.
Yep.
But I think you put in the perfect amount.
Well, thank you. I'll have to, down the road, I'll have to do the Backrooms Nerd Edition, and it'll be like 15 to 30 added pages for each coding section.
The Backrooms Authored Preferred Edition, where the second half of the novel is just binary.
Yeah. I teach you how to code a video game.
All right. Well, Backrooms starts off where we meet one of our protagonists, Greg, through a series of letters. And he has found himself in the Backrooms after kind of giving us the situation of where we are, how the apocalypse really happened when we turned over 2000 and everyone's living in a simulation. And the atmosphere you put in the beginning parts of this book, like, is we're just as lost as Greg is. And it really kind of puts you in this very claustrophobic, confusing, interesting, and curious place.
Well, thank you. That was the intent.
Well, you succeeded.
Yay!
Yep. And then Greg meets, is it Olander? Oleander. I always pronounce that wrong.
It's okay.
So
I pronounce regular names wrong, so it's fine.
So Greg meets Oleander, and Oleander, like, she's been down here a while.
Yeah.
Like, she kind of knows what's going on, and she's trying to figure out, trying to survive, and trying to keep things going. And Greg's just kind of following along and trying to do his thing. Yeah. And I think both of these had a really good dynamic between each other. But I also loved how, like, having the chapters be letters kind of made it feel like we were in a video game.
Yep.
Or we were in something because, like, oh, here's one, go here, next letter. And I think that really kept, like, once I started reading this book, I just read it through the whole way. I couldn't put it down.
Well, that's good. That's what I was hoping for. People feel like, well, I don't want to stop.
And then they also meet the Minotaurs. Is it just one, or are there many?
There's many. At the time, I wasn't sure. Like, this might sound stupid, but Minotaurs and Minotaur is one of those words where it's like, is Minotaur the single also the plural? And I looked it up, and I think it is. It like there was some quarreling back and forth from what I researched, but Minotaur is the plural for many Minotaur.
Huh.
Yeah,
that's confusing. Okay.
Yeah, because I was getting really pissed off because I was writing, obviously, and you can't go off of Microsoft Word all the time because you can type in something and it's like, nah, it needs to be this, and it's like, no, stop it. But anytime you typed in Minotaurs, and I had like red marks all over the place, like wherever that instance showed up, and I was like, this can't be right? Like, did I fall into something? Like, is this a Mandela thing where now it's not Minotaurs and it's just Minotaur? And I looked it up, and like the general consensus was, Minotaur. So I was like, okay, fine, I'll change it. I gave in.
Okay, so there's many Minotaurs.
Yeah, there's more than one.
What I thought was interesting about the Minotaur is that like they're just the computer program, and their whole purpose is looking for things that don't fit in this environment and erasing them.
Yes.
And I thought that was a very interesting way to kind of have the threat just be like, oh, you're a bad piece of code. I need to delete you now.
Yep. And almost anything that is put in there is something for them to delete as well.
Yeah.
So and again, that's from that classic story of the labyrinth with, the Minotaur that's inside the labyrinth chasing you down. I was always fascinated by that story, and I was like, this is a perfect place to put that.
Oh, totally.
What is the Backrooms but just a giant, constant maze of disgusting yellow rooms and, light bulbs. So I was like, I gotta put monster.
Like an empty office building, nothing inside, just fluorescent lights buzzing, and then endless hallways being generated in front of you.
Yep. And I think that's something that I did differently that's not in the original creepypasta, was that in the creepypasta, when you go through, like, the rooms are always different as you're continuing through, but you can go back to rooms that you were at before. Where in my version, everything's just constantly shifting and changing around you. Yes.
I thought that was interesting as well. Like, it just kind of kept the environment interesting. I'm using interesting a lot. I need to find a better word. But but no, the idea is just like the way you have it written is kind of like a roguelike where it's a randomly generated area every time.
Mm-hmm.
It's just everything's random. But Oleander has found a way, or is trying to find a way to help them escape the Backrooms, to get onto whatever is beyond the Backrooms.
Yeah. She's one of my favorite characters I think I've created so far.
She's a very, very strong character.
Right. And I feel like she's the strongest so far because she reacts the most human way than I think anything I've written so far, because her intentions are to help others get out, but she's also worrying about herself first.
Yeah.
Because there are a few chapters where she's like, I have to be completely honest with you. If I figure this out, I'm just going, because I don't know if this can help anybody else out anymore. But then she'll go on later and just be like, I figured this out, try this, it might help you out. I'm still trying to help others. And, any human being would be the same way, I think. Regardless of your intention, you're still like, if you don't think you can help others out, you're going to worry about yourself.
Number one, always worry about number one first.
Yep.
Yeah.
But no, like I think her character was very strong. I also like how she was doing what she could to help Greg. Like,
yeah, Greg just didn't want to listen.
Yeah, no, Greg was an idiot. Greg was.
Greg's just like, I got this great idea. We're gonna phase through solid matter.
And then
trust me, it'll work.
Well, spoiler alert: how does that idea pan out, Matt?
I just thought it was really interesting that he didn't really experiment with it first with other objects.
He's just like, we'll fucking do it live.
Yeah.
Well, and I wanted that to be a sign of like not everybody is mentally strong enough to last in the back rooms. Like there are some people that could maybe only be in there for a couple hours and that's all they can handle because they find it to be that perilous. And Greg was a character that originally he thought he could make it, but then he was really he put all his chips in the same basket of no clipping through walls without even knowing how to really do it. I have
actually a question about his death. Like when he died, did it disappear?
Yes. He died, and before she could move on, well, like she moved on a little bit, but the rooms behind her then shifted, and then he basically went with it.
So you didn't give her a chance to be a cannibal?
No.
No.
And I did.
I don't think she would have eaten the meat.
No, probably not. But then again, if you are starving, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, I did want to have a part where I was like she had this quarrel, like should I eat him, should I not eat him? Mm-hmm. And then I just kind of figured like because that would be so early on in the book that if she leaned to cannibalism that quickly, it would make her not really a character you'd want to care about as much.
Yeah, true.
So I was like, nah, we'll just leave that out. And then I thought, well, maybe we could add it in later. And I'm like, you know what? No, she's going to go to like a Neo Tokyo type place and get a cheeseburger. It's going to be fun.
Oh man. So like, I like also after Greg, does his no clip,
mm-hmm.
and it doesn't really work out quite the way he wants it to. Oleander takes over the letter writing.
Yeah.
So the perspective is of Oleander, and I liked seeing her perspective, especially when she talks about like Greg losing his mind.
Yeah.
A little bit, but kind of seeing how like Greg was on the outside versus just how he viewed himself in his letters.
Right. And I also purposely had her write his death just being a deadpan occurrence, because to her, she's been in here so long that a human death is even just like, it comes with the territory at this rate.
I've seen it before.
Yeah. But to somebody else, sorry, go ahead.
How long has Oleander been in the Backrooms? Do you know?
I didn't give a specific time period because every time she mentioned it, she's like, I've been in here for quite some time.
Yeah.
In my mind, she was in there for a couple years, actually.
Oh, that is quite some time.
But I didn't want to put a certain time period on it because I just figured I would leave that up to the reader, because in their mind they would say, oh, well, to me this is what I would consider to be a long period of time. So then that way you put your own inflection on it.
I can dig that. And I don't want to go too much because then we dive a bit more into like heavier spoilers.
Okay.
Unless we can put a little thing on at the end to get into like, because I find Oleander's journey to be fascinating, like where she ends up.
Okay. Well, if you want to say something about spoilers, you can.
Let's put do you have anything to say before we end the spoiler section, Vitlame?
No, I think we're ready to jump into that.
Spoilers in 3. Read the book. 2. Amazon.com, buy the book. 1. All right, this is going back now. Spoiler time. I love how how she's describing the Backrooms. The further she goes, the more kind of code she learns, and the more she's able to get through. It ends up being this like white space.
Yes.
I just love the kind of the contrast of how like this idea of just like this empty white space of code.
Yeah, it's kind of like almost representative of, in my, like how I envisioned it, like, hey, heaven. And then, wow, it's bleak.
Well, here's the idea I had in my head with that. So the Backrooms itself is like Rich put it. It's like empty office rooms, and it's just they keep going on forever. That's the basic idea of it. And in my head, I had this thought about like, say you go to like an office room or you go to a mall or something, and you see like the storefronts and everything you are meant to see. And then you can go like, certain malls is like, oh, hey, the restrooms are down this way. So you get in that one hallway that is just the hallway all the employees would use to go to their respected stores. And it's like you get that peek behind the curtain of like how the mall is set up and beyond what you're able to see. So that's like the Backrooms version. So you're in this area that's like, this is what keeps everything within the simulation, including the Backrooms, ticking. And this is where you can go through it to navigate it. You just need to know how that's actually done, which hence all the symbols and stuff that are littered throughout the rooms that she continues to go through, and the portals and such. So that was the idea of that room.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I also like part of that too, the whole like floating platforms trying to transferring people across as well.
Mm-hmm.
But like again, also very video gamey, which I thought was kind of cool, just to kind of felt very just how we envisioned these things when we were kids in the 90s.
Yeah, there was so I'll give a peek behind the curtain myself with this. There is a heavy inspiration for this the back room area of the Backrooms from the game Destiny 2. There was a season where they had this part of the game where you had to navigate through these hallways that used symbols in order to unlock the full story and get like, you know, the big weapon that was at the end of the thing for, you know, everybody to find and procure. And the area was kind of like that, white room, or like, you know, really foggy, big open areas with like glass and mountaintops and everything. It somewhat resembled that. But when I first got into that season and was playing that, the idea for expanding this book was in the back of my head. And then when I started seeing these areas, I was like, bam, baby, this is what I'm doing. Like, I love this idea and I know exactly how I want to go off of this. And that's like, I have Destiny 2 to thank for helping me push this forward a little bit. But it's also where some of the video gamey vibes come from too.
That's cool. Well, speaking of Destiny 2, I know it's late in the podcast, but we also mentioned John Wick, Lance Reddick.
Yeah.
He was one of us. Rest in peace.
That stinks. He was he voiced that game for over 10 years.
He played it too.
Yeah, he was he played it a lot. I think I read that they found out he was playing it the night before he passed away.
Yeah, he got the trophies for the Lightfall expansion.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's crazy, and it stunk. It really sucked. Like the next day, going and like, well, I'm gonna go get my bounties, and you know, he just turns around and it's like, you know, he talks to you, and you're just like, man, fuck, god damn, this sucks. Because you've been like, if you've been playing the game since the very first game, you've been hearing this voice you know, in the back of your head for over 10 years, and now you're like, it's still in here, but I know it's not here for real, you know?
Yeah.
And it sucked. And, you know, I hope not that like Bungie and everything has to give the community something for this, but I hope they find a good way to, you know, honor his memory.
Oh, totally. And he was a really good actor too.
Oh, he was fantastic. He was probably the only good part that was in that Netflix Resident Evil thing.
The unlimited breadstick scene is like the funniest shit.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I laughed so. He also was one of the few actors to break Eric Andre.
Yes. Yep.
If you ever watch the Eric Andre show, he got Eric to break character.
Yep. He's good. He had a good voice for voice acting, like, and he was just a good actor himself. So it stinks.
But for the latter half of the book, Vitlame, is there anything that kind of sticks out to you a lot?
I just really love the ending.
Oh, the ending's great.
Yeah, the ending was really, really good. I was just because you were rooting, you know, as you were reading, because you were rooting for Oleander to reach there, to get to the end, because that's basically the premise. You know, you're reading these letters to see if she goes through or not.
Yeah.
And then it kind of reminded me of Snowpiercer.
Right.
You know, when Chris Evans reaches the front of the train, and he meets the conductor, and he's like, "Yep, this is how it is. there's nothing you can do about it, so take my place.
Everything here is staged, and you'll be the new me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep the machine running.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was not based off of Snowpiercer's ending at all, but that's a very apt comparison, because I loved that ending of Snowpiercer. Because you did the whole time, you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna see Chris Evans go fucking Captain America and whoever's in this goddamn train, and then he gets there and it's like, oh, wow, that's a big slap in the face. Like, what would you do in that situation?
I love the reveal of that ending where it's just like everything had been planned for this to happen.
Yeah.
Like they knew he was going to be the guy that was going to make it to the end of the train the entire time.
Yeah, and that him and I forget the other guy were buddies the entire time.
Yep.
And just they were taking kids because kids could fit in the small compartments and work on the train. And I fucking love that movie.
I know.
That was directed by the same guy that did Parasite, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he also did he did so many good movies. Bong Joon-ho. He did The Host. He did Memories of a Murder, which is also really good.
Yeah.
He did Mother.
He is quality. He's another one of those people, like anything he puts out, I'm going to be right on.
I loved Okja as well. A lot of people kind of crap on Okja, but I thought Okja was great.
No, it was a good movie. It wasn't like one of his strongest, but I thought it was still good.
Okja's like it's entertaining. It's a fun movie.
Yeah.
With a good heart behind it. Parasite that movie's incredible.
I need to watch it. Stop talking about it. I need to watch it.
Yeah. Just watch it, Bill, mate. You'll love it.
I know I will love it. I know I will love it because this is like such a good social commentary of, basically eat the rich theme.
Yeah, you'll do the same thing probably I did watching it, where I'm just sitting there nodding my head half the time, being like, yep, that's how it is. Yep.
Yeah, no, that's exactly how it is.
Yep. So the ending, right? That wasn't the original ending.
Oh, really?
What was the original ending?
I changed because this book went through a couple different rewrites, and the original ending I was kind of happy with, but I also wasn't completely sold on. She was going to get to a room that was essentially the source, and inside of the room was going to be a person that was the architect, which she does still meet in this story. But he was going to inform her that the world that she was trying to get back to was no longer itself because of what she was doing. And because of that, she basically just sacrifices herself, and that's really the end of it. And I was like, it has a punch, but it doesn't have the punch that I want.
No.
Because I wanted it to be like, yes, she does still kind of do something along those lines. It's left up a little bit more ambiguous. But at the same time, I wanted it to be the administrator also addressing you, the reader, and everybody else that's in the back rooms. This is what happens when you fuck with it. And
resistance is futile.
Yeah. Resistance is essentially futile. And if you fuck with it, this is going to be the same thing that happens. I wish this all could have been different, but I'm sorry it's not.
Yeah. I mean, both endings are good, but the one that you decided to go with is definitely a bigger punch.
And that's what I wanted. I wanted you to come along that whole thing, feel all the feelings, and then realize in the end, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
There's a greater machine involved that you are just a cog in. And
yeah. It's like you go through this existential trauma and dread throughout the story, and then right at the end you get the hope, and then it's snatched out of your fingers.
Yeah. I'm glad people are liking the ending, because I was still, even with this one, which was the ending I really truly wanted to go with, I was still worried that it was too sudden, that it would be like a mixed opinion type thing. But everybody seems to really like how the book ended so far.
Oh no! I mean, I've read one novella that had like I can't say a similar ending, but this kind of like abrupt ending.
Mm-hmm.
And it fell so short that I got pissed off. So I'm glad that you managed to, not do that.
Well, good.
because you build it up all the way to that, and like when you came at the end of it, it made sense. It was hard, it was bleak, but it was like, but it makes sense. I get that. Like hard decisions, but you need to do this.
Right.
Totally.
I also thought it would be a real kick in the pants of like everybody reading it kind of gets that letter from their manager.
The letter from the administrator at the end.
Yeah, like, oh, well, because one of your employees decided to be a bad guy. Now you're all going to deal with it. Signed management,
That sounds like an American thing, not a European thing, but yeah.
Yeah, I keep forgetting you live in a nicer place.
Yeah. Like my friend who's a school teacher, there are 2 teachers that were in her grade who were doing not so great a job. So the entire and my friend had been working in this school for like 4 years now, and they're one of the best. And my friend got put on a PIP, which is an improvement plan. And if you don't meet the improvement plan, you get fired because 2 people in their department were doing not that great. The entire department got put on improvement plans. And if they couldn't meet the goals, they'd all get fired.
That's ridiculous.
Oh, the fuck.
Yeah, that's not good.
Welcome to America, Bill LeMay.
When you moving over here?
Never. But I will visit sometime.
Okay, visiting's good.
You do live in a kinder place than we do.
True.
Yeah, you guys accepting applications over there? That's how you get in, right?
I mean,
Give you my job experience and.
I mean, yes, but it's still tough as fuck to get in here.
I'm sure it. I looked it up. I'm like, man, it's tough as fuck to go anywhere.
Yeah.
We're kind of stuck where we're born, Matt.
Oh well, make the best of it.
Might as well make the most of it.
At least I know there's going to be an administrator's letter at the end of everything. So.
Administrator controls all.
Yep. But yeah, I'm delighted that you guys both like the book, though. I just wanted to say that.
I do enjoy your stories, Matt. They're really good. They're fun. They're entertaining. They're not boring at all.
Well,
everything I've read from yours has been super entertaining, and like I always try to push more people to your stuff because I'm like, you write really fun stories.
Well,
like they're good page turners. They're always entertaining. You have some good creepy elements here and there, but like watching your movies is kind of like a good comparison would be like if we take a horror movie spectrum, right? On one end of the spectrum we have, say, Hereditary, and the other end of the spectrum we have From Dusk Till Dawn.
Mm-hmm.
You're kind of a bit on like the From Dusk Till Dawn side.
Okay.
Which is like fun, creepy, fast-paced, it flows good, and it's just a good time all around.
Oh, yes.
Well, good.
But you still bring in those heavier aspects that you would get from the more serious side, but your books are just more entertaining. Whereas, like, I wouldn't consider Hereditary to be entertaining. I consider Hereditary to be an endurance test. Whereas I consider From Dusk Till Dawn to be entertaining.
Stop saying that movie. I want to watch it now.
From Dusk Till Dawn?
Hell yeah, it's my second favorite vampire film.
I might have to watch it tonight. Now that I start talking about it.
I think I might have to do that too, yeah.
But no, for real, like honestly,
the only thing I hear whenever anybody mentions From Dusk Till Dawn, I just the immediate thing I have is Tom Savini and his special gun.
Oh, the love machine.
I always think of Cheech Marin, and he's like, "We got cheap pussy, expensive pussy."
Yeah, I mean,
I just love Selma Hayek's transformation. It's so big.
Yeah.
No, her transformation is
like
great.
she's super beautiful, and you're like, well, damn, you're fine. And then suddenly, like, you get cut to the next scene, you're like, holy shit, what happened?
I love in that movie when the vampires take over and the band playing at the place, like a vampire band, their instruments are just limbs of dead bodies.
Yes.
Oh man,
how can you not love this movie? It's so good. And the fact that George Clooney is in it, you're like, what the fuck?
I will say that was before George Clooney was like George Clooney.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you could kind of forgive it then because I mean, to be honest, he just acted like George Clooney.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Here's the question though: when did he not act like George Clooney?
True. Very true.
But like at the same time, that was
in the fuck.
Quentin Tarantino.
No, I'm talking about in the movie where he is an escaped convict. Then he wasn't like George Clooney.
What's that one?
Is that Brother Where Art Thou? No.
Yes,
Yeah.
is that one.
I don't know. George Clooney kind of plays like a George Clooney-like role in that movie. I do love that movie, though.
It's an awesome movie. Okay, why has this transformed into George Clooney Appreciation Day?
One last George Clooney note. He was at his best when he was Batman. No, I heard an interesting fact about that though. The one last George Clooney thing.
This is how the George Clooney cast.
Yeah. I heard an interesting fact about that if people come up and talk to him about Batman and Robin, he actually refunds them for their ticket.
No.
Yeah, because he feels that bad about it.
Damn, I wonder if Chris O'Donnell does that, or if he actually just demands more money from them.
You know what Chris O'Donnell's doing anymore.
You know what I compared that Batman movie to, and like this, and I'm not trying to actually be insulting when I say this because it makes me look at that movie differently. Because when that movie came out, it was shit, and it's still shit. It's a bad movie. It's not. It's very bad.
Yeah.
But when Joel Schumacher took over the Batman movies, it felt like he was trying to lean more into the campy
Adam West
Batman.
Yeah, he admitted
Batman and Robin is just him going full camp.
Oh yeah,
like, I'm just gonna go, and I can respect it for the fact he went full camp. I just don't think nobody was expecting it to be full camp.
No, it wasn't what viewers were wanting after you got the two Tim Burton movies.
Yeah, and even Batman Forever was not a good movie.
Yeah, I mean, like I let it slide just because it's of the Schumacher movies, it's the one that's closest to the original style.
Yeah, but you can tell he was trying to get more to the camp.
Yeah, and like it's Jim Carrey in it, but
yeah, I'm sad how much Tommy Lee Cruz hated being in that movie.
Oh, Tommy Lee Jones! Oh my God, yeah.
Tommy Lee Jones. He just absolutely fucking hated it.
He did.
And he wanted to kill Jim Carrey.
Oh yeah, he hated Jim Carrey, and he did the role because his kid's favorite supervillain is Two-Face.
Yeah, I know.
It's like I couldn't even imagine like I'm doing this for my kid, but for God's sakes, I hate every minute of my life right now.
Oh man. But no, for real, like back what I was saying, just a Matt Wildasin book is an entertaining time. And you're gonna get a great enjoyment out of it. And Backrooms is a great starting point. I've enjoyed everything I've read of your stuff, and I'll continue to keep on buying your stuff.
I appreciate that.
So
thank you.
Whenever you have another book coming out, I'm there.
Well, I'm hoping.
Speaking of, do you have anything? Are you working on anything right now?
I'm hoping to have another one out before the end of the summer. I'm actually hoping to have.
It depends about your kid.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping to have 2 done before the end of. I'm hoping to have 1 out by the end of the summer and 1 finished by the end of the summer to start editing. The second book, I have a place where I'm hoping it can go. I had some talks with said person where I was hoping it can go, and it was like write it, send it to me, and we'll see where we are at that point in time. Mm-hmm. So, that's a good, kind of like platform to be on at the time. Mm-hmm. The one that I'm hoping to have out at the end of the summer is it's a straight up action book, essentially, with horror elements in it. It's my love letter to the Doom franchise.
Oh yeah, I remember.
About this one, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Titled Gore. So I'm hoping to have that out by the end of the summer.
I will read that. This sounds so fun.
So far, it's living up to its name. There's a lot of gore. There's a lot of guns. There's a lot of explosions.
Is it ripping and tearing?
There is ripping and tearing. Yes, a chainsaw appears a couple times. So and it's good. And I think the problem that kept me away from writing that for the longest time was how do you write a main protagonist that doesn't talk? And I feel like, and this will be subjective until the book comes out, but I feel like I found a good way to work around that. So in the sense, I have 2 characters that basically he is trying to get out of said place that is being overrun, and the story is told through those 2 people that are following along with him. So,
interesting.
Yep.
That's good. Yeah, I mean, that's.
I hope it works. But yeah, And it's with the original Doom idea, it's hell essentially. That a portal opens up and it's a hellscape on Phobos that comes through. Mine is on the planet Europa, which is I think it's an exoplanet of Jupiter.
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically an ice moon of some sorts. And the main character that follows along after the silent protagonist shows up, which they just refer to as the Stranger, you are on a land drill. The idea of this is that it's this giant fucking machine that just roams the ice caps of Europa, searching for acidic water that is deep down within the ice. Because on Earth, we've used up most of all of our main resources, and this ice, when mined, we can mine it and turn it into fuel and energy. So this guy is on this land drill, and that's his job. And they come across these two really large pings deep down underneath the ice. And they're two sarcophagus. One's a man-sized sarcophagus, and one is ginormous. And, because scientists are scientists, they open it up and they find out that was a big oopsie-doopsie. And
science got a science.
Science got a science. So in my world, it's not hell. It's basically Lovecraftian type creatures that Doom guy is fighting against.
Interesting.
So it's I'll just tell you right now, so far the Lovecraftian creatures aren't making out so hot, but I'm sure that was to be expected.
And where can our listeners get in touch with you, Matt?
Oh boy, where can't you get in touch with me? I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter. My handle is at Matt_Wildasin. I'm Matthew Wildasin over on Facebook. I have 2 podcasts if you're inclined, if you love podcast listening, which if you're listening to this, chances are, yes, you like podcasts. I'm a host of Grindcast. That's just my fun podcast I do with 2 of my best buds. We just talk about pop culture. Lately, it's been more of a variety show where we just come up with something to do every episode that's, fun. And I like to torture them. So sometimes I like to find really bad food and make them try it. And then the other one is the Ghostwriters podcast with myself, Summer Cannon, and Mary Sangiovanni. We watch really bad movies, and then we talk about what could have been done in them to make them a better film, and we talk about how to use the knowledge of what you've seen on screen to help you better your writing.
Awesome. And I will say both podcasts are very fun to listen to as well, especially Ghostwriters podcast, because you guys watch some hot garbage.
We do. It's changed me.
For the worse, I think.
Thank you.
You've seen things you cannot unsee.
Yeah. There are some things that I've never thought I was going to see in movies, and I've seen it, and I'm just like, how did this get green lights? Like, I don't.
And Vitlame, where can listeners get in touch with you?
They can get in touch with me on Twitter at VitlameAS.
And you can follow me on Twitter at Reedy53088, and be sure to give Abyss a follow with @IntoStaring. Next week, we're going to be discussing some Thomas Ligotti with Carson Winter. And this is Richard Gerlach saying, keep staring.